to grab out just that, just Brittany saying like record all tests.
Absolutely.
Hey guys, we're the #1 Blab right now, so
Sweet.
This is all it takes.
Whoever is updating their Blab, their 10 tips to do a great Blab, late night, put test in. Now that's a new best practice.
#1.
Put test in and wear some type of sheet.
Yep.
And then last night, Mark and I learned if you use the word naked in your title,
yes,
suddenly it will explode.
NAKEY.
What is it?
That is the keyword. NAKEY.
I'm gonna no comment on this one. We'll just no comment here.
Hey, today we have
and watch. It has some kind of magic SEO juice to it.
It's definitely Blab juice. It's Blab juice.
Here's
People
my
keep
Blab juice.
tweeting it, not allowing me to change the title.
Okay, so if you type it in the chat,
topic.
Yeah, it'll work better that way.
Do it /topic in the chat. There you go.
Oh my god.
Actually, now it really looks like I'm naked.
That's the ironic thing. Like somebody jumps in right now because they see that, and we're like as much non-naked as we could possibly be.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Well, it looks like your test turned into you have to host a show now. I'm gonna hop off. But
absolutely.
I do have a putter.
Nice to meet you.
I have that. I'm trying to find props.
Yeah. Well, of course you do. That's what you kill people with in your creepy basement.
Take a trip to Party City and go get some props.
Yeah, I do. I need to take.
That's like the true host guide, is you have things to reference always.
Wow,
that's a good tip.
Yeah, like eye patches, pirate hooks.
I have mustaches around the corners.
Fake money that you can just make rain. Those are all good props.
Like that.
I like the fake money one.
Yeah, the fake money is good. That was an accidental, really good idea. So I'll see you guys later.
Now we've lost 5 viewers since we put naked in the thing. So maybe that's not a best practice.
Oh, wow.
Depends who they were.
Depends who we were.
What did you do?
I don't know. I'm just letting people in.
Oh man.
All right. That's going to bring us viewers.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Embrace the dark side. This is quality content production.
Yeah, this is incredibly quality content.
Mm-hmm. So Craig and I came from an amazing show with Chris Brogan where he was teaching us how to be better podcasters to come here and do this.
Yeah.
That was,
yeah,
that was what we did with all that. All that wonderful advice that
I'm trying to build my podcast audience. I have varied interests.
We're discovering.
Yeah. He actually, that was pretty, I liked the way that he was running that, where he was pulling people in just one at a time. I didn't like that he kicked me out, but it was really fun right up until he cut me off. Actually, right up until I was about to say hi to you, and then he's like, cut, and I was like, ugh.
Right. Yeah. He did the same thing to me. And then he said later on when somebody was going on and on, he threatened, he literally said this on the show. He said like, you just better stop now. I'm going to cut you off faster, or I'm going to hang up on you faster than I did Trap Hagen. Which, like, anybody who knows the story, like I have been hung up by Chris Brogan. Chris Brogan finally got me, recorded the whole podcast. We did a 45-minute thing on Skype. I was so excited. It was like the first big podcast I was ever going to be on. And he said, okay, like this will probably be airing in like a month and a half. And then 2 weeks later, he ended that podcast and started a whole new podcast, and it never aired.
That's rough.
Well, that's why
I've gone to the dark side.
I'm just constantly scrambling for my next episode. No framework, no schedule, just whoever is willing to come on, I'll pepper them with questions for 45 minutes and then throw it out at my audience. That's basically my whole strategy for a podcast.
My only objective with you, I gotta keep my record of being the most frequent guest on your podcast.
I was actually going to look that up. Yes. Yeah. You've been outtaken. So Ducker has now been on 3 times, and Ralph Rivera's been on 3 times, and Tom Morkis is lined up, and he's going to have his 3rd, and you've only been on twice, Mark.
Oh, okay.
Uh-oh.
we can't be friends anymore then. That's it.
Or maybe you just have to make time for the Content Warfare podcast in your busy schedule. You're telling everyone how you're moving up the speaking ranks, and you won't let work unless it's 72 degrees in the limo, and you have 3 bottles of water that are all at room temperature waiting for you.
Well, that was the only way you got me on the podcast in the first place. I don't know why you wouldn't expect the same standards when I come back. So
it's true. That's true. Yeah, we are known for our white gloves handling service of our guests. That's definitely right. What we're known for.
Andy, wow, he's on fire.
Andy just spontaneous.
Pretty cool, huh? I can't believe it's free. I can't believe it's free.
That's like when everyone figured out about Google Hangout, the effects, and everyone was wearing hats for a while.
Yeah,
and it's like I can't wait for this trend to be over.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Australia.
What are you using to do that,
Australia.
Okay. Can somebody?
Australia. Darren Rouse, are you there?
Can somebody just buy Minicam and then kill it? That would be a service to humanity.
Is that what that is? Is that Manicam? That's what that. No. I'm on a Mac, so if it works on Windows, I don't even know that it exists.
I'm on a Mac as well. It's Cam Twist.
Oh, you're using Cam Twist for all that craziness?
I have Cam Twist, but I respect my audience too much to use it.
It's free. Cam Twist is free. I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's not very well documented though.
Sparko Cam.
It's not. I'm still learning to use it. It's not very well documented. It's not very intuitive.
We sound like pirates.
But I'm getting there. But everything Andy's doing is making me feel better about not spending the time learning it. So,
thanks. Thanks,
I'm
Mark.
sure there's a few useful features.
Yeah, you're getting to them. You're going to get to them, right? Oh, there it is. Okay, now that's good content. That's good value for the audience when you do that.
Yeah.
Finally.
You're supposed to be. Yeah. It's not a good sign when you have to duck under your halo. Not a good sign.
Trying to get back under it.
There's the quote of the show. If anyone's doing a quotable for this show, it's not good news when you have to duck under your halo.
Under your halo.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's
good question. Curious who is in the audience tonight, your followers or new blabbers getting started. Well, so the inspiration for this show tonight was actually, I wanted Mark to come over and basically tell me when my webcam was working, because I was trying to figure out how to get my DSLR camera to be my Blab camera.
It's not working.
And it's not working. And then thankfully Brittany jumped in and was like, you're completely off the rails. Here's how you get back on them. So that's where I am now. And, but then I got this new tool, Sparko Cam. So I actually have no clue who's in except for who's in the screen here, because I've been so focused on trying to figure out this thing that I don't know. So if it's new blabbers, it looks like there's a lot of new blabbers in the audience. If you're new blabber, put new blabber in the comments, and we can talk a little bit about the tool if you want. We have some people on, and we're here, and I'm awake. So why not? Why not add a little value if we can?
But it was very interesting that for a little while earlier, people were just coming in. Brittany, who was here from Blab, was looking at the stats and saying this was the #1 show on Blab until Craig came in, I think, and then
until you guys made me put the word "naked" in the title, and then we lost everyone.
You were just
Craig. We got him. We pulled another one.
So it looks like we have quite a few new blabbers, at least a half dozen or so. People said that pretty new to Blab. So I would like to get the inflappable Craig's opinion on Blab. What are you thinking about this? I know you used to be a big Hangout guy, or maybe still are. I only use Hangouts for Webinar Jam now. I don't, I've been using this for what I used to use Hangouts for, and I use Webinar Jam is really my only use of the Hangout technology.
Yep. So I don't do a lot of Hangouts, or haven't been doing a lot of Hangouts in the last 6 months to a year. I just think Blab is so much simpler that it has all my interest right now. The only thing that disappoints me a bit is you can't have the single focus on people if you choose to. You know how Hangouts does that? And then the other thing would be the video quality is, a bit less than what you can get on Hangouts. But otherwise, the interaction is sweet. The integration with Twitter is awesome. I can't wait to see what they're going to do next and where this thing goes. And for me, I'm such a here and there I get into it from the business side of things, but more I'm kind of casual. I pop on when I feel like it, and this is perfect. When I have my sheet ready and I've had enough beers, I can just pop on or wherever and look like a fool. Or if I'm feeling in a business mood, I can pop on and talk about podcasts.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about this. This is for a very different purpose from Hangouts, isn't it? As we're discovering it.
Yeah.
Because this is, and I keep telling people this, they are so ingenious in how they've designed this. And this is a great lesson for startups of all kinds, is what they do not do here is more important than what they do. There's a lot of things that they're intentionally not putting in. They're not building in. They're not adding a lot of bells and whistles because it keeps it focused on the conversation. Yeah. And, even down to the 4 people that are in live at any one time, that's the most that you can really have a great conversation with. I've been in Hangouts with 8, 9, 10 people, and you get to say something once every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. That used to drive me crazy. I used to blame that on the host though, because
it does come down to hosting.
As soon as you have more than 4 in total, it turns to chaos. People talking over each other, or people taking it off on a tangent that you weren't expecting. You go down that rat hole, and this limits it. And almost anytime you limit any type of platform or venue, it works to the producer's benefit, I think.
Yeah, I've noticed having a wingman is really sometimes necessary with Blab, because I've seen Blabs where you have a strong host and he or she is totally into either interviewing or engaging the other 3 windows. It's virtually impossible to keep an eye on, let alone engage with the chat folks. And the chat folks get pissed off if they're totally ignored, because there's interaction within chat, which is all well and good, but they also want to be seen and recognized. I've seen good Blab hosts start off by saying, "Hello, Bob. Hello, Jill. Hello, Mike," etc., and go through each and every person who's in the room. It's difficult to do that when you're in mid-flow, right, of the Blab. That's not as easy. But little things like that, I think, are coming along. People are figuring that out.
Yeah, 2 things that I'd like to see. One is what Craig already mentioned, is the being able to focus on one person. So as a host, if I tee Craig up for a question that I know he's going to have a good couple minutes of an answer on, like that's what I want from him. I would love to be able to pull him up and go full screen, full square on him, so that the audience can get the full feel of what he's saying. The other thing I'd like to do as a host, and this goes to this would be Sans Wingman, or even if you have one, is being able to, like in Hangouts, you were able to mark a comment as it came through that you could then, it would pin it to the top and then you could go back. So when I used to do my podcast recorded as a Hangout, I would see a question or a comment that I really was interested in, knew that I couldn't get to it in that moment. I would pin it. And then at the end, when I could tell that the person who I was talking to was winding down, I would scroll back up to one of those pinned comments, pull that off, get my engagement from my commenters, and then get back into the conversation with the person who I was interviewing.
Well, have you noticed that they now have for the show host, look over on your text chat at the top. There's his cues and mentions, and that is a separate tab now. So if people, you got to educate your audience to start their questions with /Q so that it tags it as a question, and then everything that's been tagged as a question.
Yeah, I'm having trouble. Hearing Mark. Is anyone else having?
Yeah, he's
coming in and out there, Mark.
Okay,
yeah, he's going audio only on us.
Hey Ryan, that point about going to one big window, I think that would be awesome, because I'm thinking of the scenario where folks.
Sorry,
I'm thinking of the scenarios where people want to show something on a screen, like a laptop or a device, or a PC or a desktop.
Absolutely.
And right now they're doing it, but it's really difficult to see anything worthwhile. And particularly, in teaching mode, having one large, or the ability to go one large window would be awesome. And Brittany is actually, she said something very interesting here in chat. She said, "Pinning is a good idea. ... That's all I'll say."
Yeah,
Smile.
wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more.
I wonder if pinning is the same as going one large window.
Is that a scoop? Who's live tweeting this Blab? You just got the
scoop. She's talking about the comments.
Pinning comments.
Oh, okay.
But can you hear me now?
Yes.
Am I coming through better?
Yes.
Okay. What I was saying was that at the top now, this is on now, for just the host, only the host can see this. At the top of the comment stream, there's a separate tab that says Q's and mentions.
Yep. Cool.
And if people tag their questions by doing /Q space and then ask the question, the host can go to that tab and see just the questions and people who have mentioned you. So that's, you at least have that now. We didn't have that 2 weeks ago.
That makes it a lot easier, but I still think there's a good reason to have a wingman or a wing person.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
I think that's just a best practice.
Yeah. Having the shows that are really well run have somebody who's sitting there. I was on someone's show the other day. Do you guys know Grant Cardone?
Of course.
Sales guy. He's very he's got a way about him. He has someone who works the comments for him, and they were doing a really good job. I was watching kind of their interaction, and she was feeding him questions from the chat so that he didn't even have to look. He could stay piped right in on the audience. And I don't know how exactly the process was, but you could tell that she was here bringing them in for him. And then bam, he was right on them, like snap, snap, snap. Yeah. And they had obviously done this before on other platforms, and they had a good rapport, but that tandem, like as a viewer of the show, there was no interruption, because one of you guys had mentioned before, and Andy, it may have been you, how some hosts go through the list of comments and they like welcome people. I personally feel like that really breaks up a show. Like if you're doing a show, Andy, I don't need you to be like, "Hey, Ryan's here. Like he's super cool dude." Like I know that you're looking over there. I guess, I think that can kind of, it makes things choppy, especially if you're in the course of a conversation. Now done right, and there's a nice break, I think that's cool. But I've seen people like literally almost cut off guests to give people who come into the show shout outs. And I'm like, you're just disrupting the flow of your show and the natural engagement.
Ryan, I totally agree with you. But having said that, what I was saying was, when you start off the Blab session, you take the time to greet every single one at the top, every one of those dots. That goes a long way, I think. But totally with you on the interrupting factor. I'll tell you one guy who does it incredibly well, though, because he thinks fast and he talks fast and it's almost seamless, is Brian Fanzo. He will acknowledge folks. And if you ever watched him, and it's like, the guy has done it mid-sentence. It's incredible.
It's like punctuation in his sentences.
Yeah,
exactly.
And he's kind of set up his the thing with Fanzo is that he has built this into his whole shtick. So it doesn't feel unnatural. I think that like for me personally, I know that if all of a sudden I was like, "Hey," and I went over here, it would feel unnatural for the way that I handle. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I certainly don't think there's anything wrong with the fact that Fanzo has kind of brought calling people out or giving them shout outs into his thing. Subi Zimmerman does a great job with this too, where she did like the same thing. It's almost like the period at the end of the sentence is the call out to someone. I think that's great. But I do think that you have to practice that for it to be part of your thing. It's not just something that you can pull in on a whim, because it will seem choppy, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Your focus needs to be your guest 100% of the time.
And I've seen, sorry.
I was just going to say, I see that hosts fail with that a lot due to the interactivity of the chat. But also, I was just watching someone the other day. It was a guest on another Blab. And he was talking, he had a great point, and he was getting distracted by the comments and had lost his train of thought because he was reading comments.
Yeah.
You just can't do that,
I watched Ted Rubin sat in his rocking chair somewhere very nice, and he was just superb to watch. But he definitely had, Ryan, someone that you were talking about. He had someone somewhere responding to chat.
Yeah.
And to me, it was kind of discombobulating because I knew he wasn't typing, and yet he was someone was responding on his behalf. And I thought, oh, okay, I see what's happening, because he wasn't moving, right? And it does take this very physical.
Yeah. Maybe he's got the chip. Maybe he got the chip in his brain, and he's just thinking it while he's talking.
Well, and the typing on its own is one of the problems, right? You start to get all this. It's like, I thought you were listening to me.
Right? Yeah.
Right. I think there's a balance here. Like CC Inspires is saying this, is saying that, you know, that it's like helped her to want to be part of the show when the host is acknowledged or something like that. I think CC, what Ryan is saying is right, is that watch the people that can do that right. You know, and again, Fanzo and Subi Zimmerman, that it's just punctuation. They don't lose their thought. They don't get involved in a conversation or try to crack jokes with the people in the they just acknowledge it, you know, say like, hey CC, how you doing? Boom, back to the content. So you get both. And I think there's room for both if you can do it well.
I also think it depends on the context of the interview, right? So this is a very casual thing. We threw this together. I had no intention of 141 people stopping into this show, right? I thought it was just Mark, the two of us, for a couple of minutes, and then we jump off. So I think, you know, in a casual, informal type of thing, it's okay to kind of get lost in the comments for a second.
Absolutely.
But, you know, if I'm bringing, so I had Chris Ducker on my show the other day. Locked the other two seats. It was the two of us. And though I always kind of had my eye on what was going on over there, I think that, you know, as an interviewer, you have a responsibility to that guest to make sure that they feel like they have at all times your full attention. As someone who's been interviewed before, there is nothing worse than like you're trying to have this conversation and you're giving yourself to the audience and you're responding to a question, and it feels like the person is like off here, not even listening to you. You're like, how could you possibly ask me a well thought out follow-up question to what I just said if I can literally see the tops of your fingers typing on the computer? Like, it really, you have to have a wingman, or you have to be very good at hiding that interaction, or you're gonna give that person the wrong impression. They're gonna want to come back on your show again.
Right. And I would add, you know what compounds that people forget about that. So I'm at my place in Maine, and I don't have my normal setup here. So my camera is in like the standard place at the top of my laptop. So the entire time that people are hosting and stuff, when they have this setup that I have, when you're looking at the screen, like right now I'm talking directly to Ryan and Mark and Andy, but I'm not looking at you guys. And then if I get sidetracked by the chat, now I'm looking over there. And then, I remember to look back up. The entire time you're not paying attention to the people that are speaking. So it just keeps compounding, and it looks like I keep seeing myself looking down like this. And it's like, what the hell? I'm supposed to be looking at the camera. I'm talking to you, and I'm just a guest. And you see hosts do it over and over and over and over again. It's like,
that's a tough thing. I feel that's a really tough thing. I find myself doing the same thing, but I think it takes practice, right?
A better way. Practice or better camera position helps solve at least half of that.
And
when I'm at home, I have my camera almost in the middle of the screen, so I can actually look at the people, and it blocks faces here and there, but it looks like I'm looking at you, and I feel like I'm looking at you instead of looking in other directions at all the time.
Yeah.
And glasses can reflect the screen and be distracting as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I just can't see it without mine.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm getting there, Mark.
It's
I guess it wouldn't matter. Like on my MacBook here, I should be looking at the green light, right? So does it look like I'm looking directly at you guys right now? Because I'm looking above the chat window, but I'm looking at the green light, which is where my cam is.
Looks like you're looking at Ryan's chin.
Yeah.
So it looks like I'm looking up. All right, tell me when it looks like I'm looking at you.
Now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at you.
Good.
So
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
Well, that works well. Okay. Because somebody last night told me like I should be looking up at my cam, which looks weird because it's at the top of the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how about me? So right now, Mark, I'm looking right at you, and you can't look at me, but it looks like I'm looking totally down at the bottom of my screen.
You are. It does. It looks like you're reading something.
And now,
the screen.
if I look,
now it looks like you're looking at me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
but now I can't see you guys. I can't see your facial expressions. I can't see anything.
It all depends on the angle. I think it all depends on the angle. So like what I do is I try to keep my, because when I'm using my Mac webcam, I keep the camera very high. So I use a standing desk, and if it's up, I can be looking at you guys, but because I'm kind of looking, I have to look up regardless. It always looks like I'm looking in the general direction of the camera. I'm also really terrible about looking at the camera. It's like my worst thing. I want to see if I'm saying something. I want to see, are you laughing? Are you reacting? Are you,
exactly.
And that's a tough thing to keep people going. But I found personally when I'm using the Mac webcam, by putting it up higher and the screen up higher, it tends to feel in watching them back like I'm always at least close to the area.
Yeah, I do that in my home studio too. I'm kind of, this is a weird, I'm in a hotel room and it's a very low desk. There's not really anything to prop it on, but yeah.
I'm kind of half surprised Enga isn't like jumping on the bed back there. I could just see him like jumping up and down, and the two of you are just like.
The rumors are not true. We don't actually live together. No, he's up at tonight at SCJ Summit. He's speaking there tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
Well, on the standing desk, I've got a desk that I can move up and down. So I've just moved mine up to standing.
Yeah,
but we look like we're looking down at you, Andy. It looks like we're like kind of looking like down at you.
Yeah,
that's the angle I see.
I know I look down all the time.
Yeah, but I'm saying it looks like it just the impression I have. It looks like your camera position is as if it's like up above you, looking down at you.
Is that better?
Yeah, see, that's better. That's more level.
Mm-hmm. You can sort of see how I position my camera in the comments over there.
So I just moved the iMac. I tilted the iMac screen back, and I'm standing upright.
Yeah, that looks pretty good right there. Yeah.
Good posture. Nice smile. Greet the world. You're ready for your day. Take it on.
I found the standing desk has completely changed my work capacity. Since I started using a standing desk every day, at the end of the day, I don't feel exhausted. I feel like I still have energy. I really think sitting I haven't sat down to do. I wrote a 1,000-word blog post standing today, and I used to struggle standing. It's becoming like an art form to blog while you stand. But once you kind of get used to it, it almost like energizes you. And I actually keep like right over here, I have a putting green, like one of those 8-foot indoor putting things that you like putt into and it shoots the balls back to you. So I never sit. Like if I need a quick break, I just go over, I hit a couple balls, I come back over, I do some more work. And I found the standing desk to be a godsend as far as
I do too. I worked up gradually from like 2 hours a day to more than 6 hours a day standing.
Wow.
At the standing desk, and it did take some getting used to, but you can work up to it. And I totally agree. I think I work better. I feel more energized. I just feel better in general.
What do you have? Which one?
I don't know what the model is. I just got it at Amazon. It's a platform for my Mac. It sits on the desk. It's adjustable.
Okay. Yeah.
So it goes up and down. But it's not actually the desk. Yeah.
I have a Veridesk, which sits on top of your desk. So you have a desk, and then this is actually it's kind of nice because I've moved it a couple times. It only weighs maybe like 50 pounds, and it can go from the nice seated position up to, I'm 6'4", and I'm not even on the highest one, so I could even go up higher. So it's got plenty of lift, and I definitely like that. I mean, it's not cheap. It cost me probably like $300, but it was well worth every penny.
Yeah, mine. I just got the carriage, so the structure of it. I put my own desk or my own top on this thing and constructed it. It was fairly easy, but the problem is, of course, it's adjustable, so I can be lazy.
Yeah,
it goes up and down. So,
well, every once in a while you need a break, but
yeah.
Sorry, Mark, I interrupted you.
No, I was interrupting you actually, as I usually am. I was joking. Craig was adjusting his laptop or something like that. It was making these noises, and I said, "You should at least say excuse me. Own up to your men here."
Oh, you know what? I was totally that was my error because it doesn't say test anymore.
Yeah.
If it still said test, I could do whatever. So I missed
we have to be professional now.
Well, that's the new. I think Brittany approved that cultural vernacular now. That if you put "test" in the title, you can literally do whatever you want on the show, and there's no societal misgivings to doing whatever you.
And I know she's not working right now. I know. Hold on. I know that she's not watching right now because if she were, the moment you said that, she'd be typing no.
What I think is kind of cool is that people go to their profile and tell you how many days they've been on the platform. It's like, what are their social media platform? People are like, I've been on for 16 days. I'm like,
remember when it used to be follower accounts?
Yeah, now it's how many days have you been on?
22
follower accounts. Oh my gosh.
22 days on Blab.
Yeah. This is it is kind of cool, and I hate the Blab always about Blab, but
my penis is slightly larger, 24.
What? You're 24 days?
I'm a 24.
24.
Yeah. Two more days than Andy.
I don't even know.
Look it up. Craig, what are you, buddy?
I don't know. I'll have to go look.
Click on your profile. Yeah.
Okay. Ryan's 27.
27 days. Yeah, 27 days.
Nice.
And Craig is 26. We're all about the same time. Like we're all the same week.
Yeah.
Can you guys remember who introduced you to Blab? I'm struggling to remember who, and I feel I should remember that.
Me, it was Mia Voss and Chef Dennis.
I know. So I got introduced to Blab by Marcus Sheridan. I had just done a podcast about how I thought Periscope was a fad, right? So, right. So just done a thing. I didn't say there was a fad. I said it had the makings of what could be a fad. And really the idea it wasn't live streaming. It was that I didn't think the quality of the video that Periscope was putting out and the fact that it was portrait, I worried that particular technology would get passed by something else that would come out again. So it certainly wasn't live streaming. I mean, I did Google Hangouts. I loved them. It was the concept of this Periscope in particular. And he called me on the phone and said, dude, have you done a Periscope yet? And he said, no. And he said, you are an idiot. It's amazing. So you need to go check out Periscope. He goes, but even cooler than Periscope is Blab. So I was like, all right, I'll forget about Periscope. I'll go to Blab and I came here and that was 27 days ago.
Phyllis,
for me, it was Michael Stelzner tweet. I just saw a tweet from him. I'd never heard about this at all. Just saw a tweet that he was going to be on Joel Comm's show, and that was his first time on Blab. So I followed him over. And I was in the chat, and after a while, and Michael knows me, so he invited me. And Joel Comm, somebody I've tried to connect with for 2 years. And the first moment on Blab, I got in the show. We made a real connection. We met up now at Inbound last week in person. Now, Joel knows if I pop into a show where Joel will say, "Hey, Mark, come on in." This is the amazing thing of this connects. I tweeted out. Let me get this tweet that I sent out just a few minutes ago. A little while ago here. I said, I got to get past all the time I tweeted this thing. Okay, in the past 24 hours, I've talked face-to-face with Robert Scoble. I got the Twitter handles, but Robert Scoble, Joel Comm, Mike Stelzner, Chris Brogan, and Ryan Hanley. Blab is the shit.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Is there some sort of best practices influencer marketing name dropping tactic that Mark just gave us right there? Real sneaky too.
Yeah, he was definitely dropping some names, some great names, by the way.
Well, I have to make the tweet longer because I got to add Andy Foote.
No, don't you dare. Oh. But I have to say, Phyllis in chat, 40 days, nice. 42 days in. So that's pretty cool. So I have to ask a follow-up question, Mark.
Yeah.
Why did it take? What was the issue with connecting with Joel? Was it just that he was tough to get in touch with, or he was inundated, or what was the issue?
It's very popular because it was doing it through tweets and Facebook and stuff like that. When I say connect, yeah, we chatted, but there was no, it's much harder in text when you've never met a person to make that real human connection, right? And come across, try as you might. And sometimes it happens. It can happen just through that.
Yep.
But all I'm saying is that when I finally got face to face with him in a Blab, it happened in a moment.
Yeah.
We just, you know,
I've met more people that I've been text connected to in social spaces since I got on Blab in the last 27 days. The speed at which I've made legitimate connections with people has been like that. And I'm right with you, Mark. Just tons of, I can't even mention them all. Just people that I've, you know, had Facebook conversations with, Twitter conversations with, different things run across them in blog comments, read their work, they've read mine. And then all of a sudden you see them on a Blab, you pop in, you jump in, and now you're just like, and this is kind of, not to get all like, you know, foo-foo-y, but you know, it's one of the power of what we're doing here when you're really out creating content and connecting with people and trying to do the right things. Because some of those conversations I jumped into having never made eye contact with this person before. And it was just like, bam, remember, da-da-da-da-da. And now you're into a conversation building off some Facebook conversation you had a couple weeks ago with someone you've never actually met. And that's a really cool thing. And if for nothing, for no other reason, that's a really powerful aspect of this platform is that people come in, they come out. You know, what Brogan was doing, he must have had a dozen people in the matter of 20 or 30 minutes. And that's just a really cool way to connect with people. Just real quick, one question that someone had, Juanita, you cannot have a fifth person.
Yeah.
It's 4. So you can't have a fifth wingman like you can with Hangouts where you can kind of have that dark person who sits on the side and isn't really part of the Hangout. You get the 4 slots and that's the only spots that you get.
Yeah.
And Joe,
so I have a question. I have a question for you guys. All right. I have a question for you guys. Right now, we can tend to get a skewed view of things because we're all, you know, all of us here are marketed to very, well, Craig, it depends on the day of the week, what his interest is, but you know, we're all kind of in that field. Right. And so we're talking, oh, this is amazing. I connect these people. Well, everybody I named in that tweet is basically a marketer. All right. So those are the people that of course are going to be here. They're going to be on Twitter. They're active on Twitter. They're going to get connected to this very quickly. They get drawn in. Do you think this will have the same kind of virality for people who are in other fields that aren't geeking out every day about, oh my gosh, social media, like,
oh, that was going to be such a good question, but I couldn't hear it.
No, I think I'm pretty sure I know. Basically what he's asking is, marketers have taken to this thing. Is it ever going to hit mainstream? I mean, that's what Mark's essentially asking. And this is what I'm going to say. I have absolutely no clue. I think it has the propensity to. I think Google Hangouts would have owned this space and they messed it up personally. I think that they didn't. I think the technology did not continue. They never went ease of use. They went feature heavy and they never went ease of use. I think the fact that this platform has gone ease of use gives it the potential to get there. But my last point, and then I'll let you guys jump in, is I think I think marketers get a bad rap for jumping into things quickly. I think that with tools like this, it's our job to jump into these quickly and understand them so that someone can explain them to the people who may use them and aren't marketers, right? You wouldn't put a new construction tool out and not have construction workers use it before you handed it off to the home, you know, weekend handyman, right? Like you want the people who understand new technology and platforms and how they work to get a feel for them first, so then they can go out and educate everyone else and bring them in. So I hear that argument all the time, and I really believe that it's almost our responsibility to be out there trying to figure these things out and letting people, teaching people how to use them.
All right, I'm gonna drop.
Well, I would just
obviously my internet is crappy. It must be the hour that everybody in the hotel starts getting on porn. So
yes,
my internet.
So you gotta go.
Yeah. So
there are 115 men streaming porn into your website, into your hotel right now,
and some women.
Into my hotel. Oh, no wonder there's a party in here. Hi guys, didn't notice. All right, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yep.
Always great to chat with you guys. We'll see you around the Blab.
Yep.
Take care.
See you, Mark.
Bye, Mark.
So to follow up your point there, Ryan, I forget who asked the question, but I've definitely seen a lot of the younger crew using Blab. So I end up coming on here later at night. Lately, I've just had a bunch of house projects I've been focusing on, so I haven't been online a lot. And I most of the Blabs are people just hanging out and having a good time. So in my view, for long-term marketing value, I think that's awesome. What worries me is when I look at the Blab homepage and it's crowded with people like me. And then it's like, well, what would this feel like if my sister was to come on here, or, you know, some buddy? How interesting is it to them at that point? You know, it's who wants to see, you know, how to host your Blab, or how to do better with content marketing, what to do, you know, do you need advice for your podcast? Like, no, I wanted to come on here and wear sheets with my friends and drink. You know what I mean? But to the younger audience, they come on and they're like, I thought this was going to be cool, but now I can't be here. Yeah. So you're totally right about the marketers taking it up first, and it makes sense that they should, and it's kind of sort of happened traditionally in most cases. But the younger millennials, or whatever the term is these days, that's it's off-putting to them for sure.
Yeah, I've written about Blab, and I've noted a couple of interesting things. Right now, it's what I would call a home movement, right? You don't see any corporate environments. It's basically people at home, and they're finding the time to do this, right? But you're not seeing office stuff right now, and I'm not sure how quickly that'll happen, or if indeed it will. But so that's the first thing. I think the other thing is, in this article I wrote, it was all about the fourth wall, and I was referencing acting, how when actors break the fourth wall, it's actually a bad thing, right? Because they don't want to notice or be aware of the audience. So they want to, stay in that bubble to make it seem as real as possible. But breaking the fourth wall in social is what Blab has actually done, right? Because what we do on all of the other channels is we make an initial step. So that's a follow, a connection request, a circle, or a friend. And then you have to take another step, right? So it's part of the routine. You've still got to then do something else to have real engagement. But where Blab basically, and I'm not an expert on Hangouts or any other live streaming, and I'll come to that in a second. But where Blab has succeeded is that it's basically taken that wall away. You don't have to take any steps. You've got instant engagement, which is pretty incredible. And the other thing, someone like myself, I would never really think about doing Periscope, right? I don't want to do a monologue. And you've got all these other folks. Well, why did I come in? Well, I came in because I get now to engage with people that I've had some kind of name recognition with, right? I know who Chris Brogan is. I haven't had any interaction. I know who Scoble is, et cetera, et cetera. And suddenly I've met all these people. I've been in the same room with these people. And that's fairly incredible when you think about it. So, to answer your question about marketers are going to have a hell of a time trying to monetize this, because where are you going to do it, right? You've got this thing at the bottom. There aren't going to be any adverts beyond what you can put on your screen. And there's a lot of content sharing or, dropping knowledge bombs. But that's about it, I think.
I've seen some good work. I've seen some good work with people dropping links in the comments for things. I was watching, actually, I referenced her before, but Subi Zimmerman was interviewing Rich Brooks for a conference that actually I'm speaking at as well, Agents of Change conference up in Maine. It's next Friday. And she was basically interviewing about the conference and about some of her past experience, or some of his past experiences with speakers. He's had some really great people there. And throughout the course, she's dropping her links to the conference sign up in the thing. And she, now I think you have to be very good at this, right? She has a knack. One of the things that I think a lot of people appreciate about her is that she has the ability to sell to you, and you're just like, don't even care at all. You're like completely cool with her, she just has this way about her, and she's well practiced, and it's very well done. I think you have to be careful with that. You can't, if you're just dropping links in over and over and over again, now you're just spamming an audience. People aren't going to want to come back to your show. It has to have a purpose. But I agree with you. You guys said something, or Craig, you said something about the homepage. I would really love to see the homepage evolve and become almost like tailored to your Blab experience over time, right? So if you're if you're not into the marketing stuff, right? So you're talking about your sister or whatever, you're coming on and she's never interested in the marketing. Well, then the homepage is almost dynamic to her interests as a logged in user, showing her, okay, here's the ones about, whatever she's interested in, indie music or art or whatever her thing is. And it dynamically shifts that homepage to what you have shown interest in over the course of your viewing history. And I think in that way, you could create a really incredible homepage experience for users that is specific to them and what they're interested in. And I don't think the technology would be that incredibly hard to put together since you're logged in, since it's, as long as it's a logged in experience, as long as you're not coming in anonymous.
Yep. That wouldn't be difficult at all.
So Mark hasn't disappeared. He's still very much around, and he's saying Sue B can sell live because she couches it all in sincere language about how much she wants to help her viewers, and you feel like she's your friend. That's absolutely correct.
That's true.
She's excellent at presentation and authenticity. That's the other thing I think that this platform gives us, is that you can't really fake who you are. You essentially end up being yourself, and hopefully that that in itself appeals to people, right? You don't have to like it or love everyone, but the fact that they're being real and they're revealing stuff as well, stuff that we all go through. We all fuck up, we all make mistakes. And I think that's another thing that people are really warming to.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jody Brown, she just wrote something. Blab is a fast track to your authenticity. It reduces the 7 touch points to sale to about 2. And, whether it's 7 to 2 or 11 to say, whatever it is, I do agree that if you can get your audience, the audience that you're looking to potentially sell something to, onto this platform, the authenticity of it, the engagement of it definitely lends itself to some of that, some of those relationship building touch points that are necessary. You can bypass some of those. Now, it has to be done right. It's a lot of what you're talking about with Sue, and a lot of that work is done before you're ever actually on the Blab, but it definitely has a lot of power in that way.
Absolutely.
Hey guys,
Tim's a good guy.
Hey Andy, great to see you. I feel like this is actually the first Blab that we've been in together, so it's kind of nice. I've been watching you, and it's just lovely. Look, I think that what Blab will do is you put your face out there, you put your voice into it, and so really it is warts and all. It's who you are, and if you can connect in that way, I think that's where this platform's going to work for people, is that if you've got that kind of natural sense of being able to connect with an audience in a conversation, it's going to work. So
it's another great point by Mark. He's saying, interesting to watch Chris Brogan tonight. He was really on to sell his podcasting course, but he hardly mentioned it. He just helped people, and his fans were posting the link to his course in the chat. That's the way to do it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You can't get better than that. It's like, oh man, that guy Chris Brogan, he is knowledgeable, and I need to explore. I need to find out. I need to get me more Chris Brogan. That's how it should work, right?
Right. And I would just say that Chris has shared tons of awesome information over the years, but I think the core of Chris is just the human part, just that he's out there. If you send him an email or a tweet at him or bump him on Facebook or bump into him at a conference, he's the real deal. He's just going to chat you up, be your friend, get to know you, not sell anything. And so when he's doing something like the podcast advice, and some of us know that he would like to sell that course, you trip over yourself to help that guy because he's someone you're connected with, someone you like.
Yeah.
And he's already gifted you so much that you're a supporter, aren't you? So
it's like a good friend coming up saying, hey, you know what, I got this for sale, and you're like, I'll tell all my friends, if I really believe in you, and that's what he's done.
You know, so Jody Brown just said an interesting comment that I think ties this together a little bit. She said, I inspire to that sales technique. And as much as it is a sales technique, the word technique does not do what Sue and Chris and so many others are actually doing, right? It's not a technique as much as it is a lifestyle of giving with the full belief that when you need to get it back, it'll be there for you, right? It's almost like you have to make, it's like the, very kind of cliche thing. You have to make that leap first and trust that that thing will be on the other side. And that's what Chris has done. I mean, when I first got into the digital world, 2008, 9-ish, I can't even remember when it was. Chris was in the middle of a series of videos he had just kind of taken his hockey stick growth, right? He had just kind of gone from popular guy to Chris Brogan is like a household marketing name.
A brand.
That was the time when he did that. And he was called an overnight success and a lot of articles that were written about him. And he did a web series where he took his then non-HD, very like 3 megapixel camera, and he was following around what it takes to be Chris Brogan, right? So 3 a.m. flights to some godforsaken city in the middle of nowhere to do a presentation to 100 people, to fly to some other city to do one to 1,000, to fly to another one to do a private consulting. And he's videotaping how kind of like, it seems like I have this overnight success. And yes, it seems like, I'm doing this amazing thing, but really it's just grinding it out every day, giving, and hoping that when I ask, it'll be there. And I think that though he's, taken a lot of different paths, I think he's really kind of dialed into that today. He's given so much that he now has that full exchange. I'm going to teach you about podcasting. You feel comfortable enough to buy it from me. And it's not even a technique at this point. It's just part of who he is and what he does.
It's the long game, isn't it? It's the long game.
Yeah. And look, I think any success, it takes a lifetime to become an overnight success, doesn't it? It takes a lifetime of effort and hours and grind for people to suddenly you meet critical mass and you're seen. But you don't, nothing ever happens overnight.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
And none of us are lucky either, are we? That's the other thing. Not luck. No. We are early adopters. That helps. Yep. That helps. I think.
Yeah.
Well, that comes down to that 10,000 hours. If you're in on something early enough and you develop the experience and you develop the expertise early enough, then that's where leadership comes in. So Malcolm Gladwell's book certainly sort of illustrates that point.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing I think that this creates is the immediate call to action. That if you're having a conversation with people and there's people in the room and they're listening and they're involved, that the moment you do put up that link or the moment that you do share something, you've got that huge call to action that people are living it right now. They can just jump straight into whatever or wherever you're directing the conversation. And that's, I think, a different thing in other platforms. I think you don't have that kind of verbal endorsement, living endorsement that comes from conversation and the thing that gets affirmed in that.
One thing I found interesting about this platform is people's audience members' willingness to give you a shot. And I'm wondering how long that's going to last, right? This started as me. So for people who are on now, this started about an hour and 20 minutes ago or more with me trying to figure out how to use my DSLR camera as a webcam. And I wanted Mark Traphagen, who's now in the comments, just to come on. And the two of us were I was like, Mark, just tell me when this thing works because, I'm trying to figure it out. And it's turned into 183 viewers. We have 26 people on. We've had an incredible and dynamic conversation. Tim, we've never met before, but I'm really enjoying what you have to say. This is great. We're getting to know, and people are willing to come in and give us a shot and listen to what we have to say. And obviously we're doing something right because people have stuck around. So I'm wondering how long, and I'd love to get your guys' thought on that. Is that kind of the culture of the platform and it's going to stick around? Or do you think that's something that over time people will start to become jaded and find their niches and not do that? Or is that just this really incredible culture of the platform that people give these shows a shot and let see what people have to say?
I feel we've kind of lost the art of conversation. That we don't engage in long, meaningful discussions anymore. And if you look around, next time you travel on public transport, no one's talking to each other except this guy. Except I'm the one who's basically says something, hopefully humorous or slightly funny or topical even, right? Because I'm just interested and fascinated in people. So I'm the weird big mouth on the bus. But everyone else, particularly the younger crowd, and I hate to use that phrase, right? But they're plugged in and they're head down in their device, and they don't know how to communicate, or maybe they do, but it's all Twitter and 140 characters or less. So it's very. I also think that these devices and our limited time, right, force us to be very transactional in what we do, right? We get in, we get out, we got to tick this off our list, we got to do this, and I also worry about the lack of discovery, right? We get fed certain things, and of course, the sites that we use are clever enough to do that for us, and then suddenly we're narrow-minded. We don't know what's going on in the rest of the world, right? Depending on what we're reading. So that's a whole lot of stuff out there. I think bottom line, Blab helps us with many of that, or much of that.
So, and I would add to that, Brian. I think people will get jaded to the pre-prepared shows. So in the marketing space, so you do your content show, and I don't know, say Mark and I do an SEO show. After a while, and I'm jaded myself from being in the space for so long. Is I'm interested in what the shows people are putting out right now, the marketers are putting out right now, to see how they use the platform. But once I get accustomed to the show, I'll check it out once in a blue moon, but I'm not that interested anymore. What I'm going to be more looking at is, what is the new school doing? Where are the general conversations going on? So I guess what the takeaway from that would be, and I think that, a lot of people will end up in thinking the way that I do, is if you have a successful show and a brand that you come out to Blab or another platform like this, and you're constantly putting out your show, don't forget to do silly things or casual shows to where you can get back to the roots and just be a person and connect. It's really key.
Yeah, I love that.
I think there's that experience of the new, and for Blab, we're still living the experience of the new. It's the novelty of the new. But I think, Ryan, the point that you're making is that there's a stickiness in it, that people are willing to just sit and listen. They're willing to participate in the sidebar. And I think, seeing the topic is how to be a good host, I think the real thing is to be able to engage the people in the sidebar, to make a conversation a part of, not just us. You're a great guy and Andy's a great guy, and listening to you is really interesting. But the real conversation is happening in the sidebar. The real conversation is happening with those people up there, and it's when you can ask a question and get that kind of thing. Do I live in a rubber room? Interesting question.
Nice, Brian.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes,
very well. It's a shower curtain, Brian.
Actually,
you're on the toilet doing a Blab. That's amazing.
Plastic roofing, but it hides
exactly
a multitude of sins behind me. So for exactly $40, you can look like you live in a rubber room. So I'll post the link.
we had two great comments in there while everyone was talking. Jody says, many things in our culture are dialing back to human connection we've been missing. This makes it super easy. I can tell from my own personal experience that being a work from home guy, my office is in the basement here. Even though I have this really nice creation setup, most of my work is conference calls with my team, right? I manage a marketing team, so most of the time I'm on the phone with them. And this is a really nice thing to pop in here when I need a little bit of human interaction, and I can jump on one or just sit in the comments and watch people. And it definitely, as a work from homer, it has been a really big blessing for me to get this back. I don't get this as often as I used to. So
yeah,
absolutely.
Same here. And I think to Tim's point, the real conversation going on in the sidelines, I see that as the warm up. I see that as people sort of getting ready to jump into a seat and, you know, getting their confidence up. You know, the solo anxiety just dropping away. That I see many great, you know, engagers coming from the right. I think that's going to happen.
I'm getting blown up with high fives. Who is?
I call them field goals.
It's like
field goals,
whatever it is.
Or props. I think
props.
Props. Yeah, props. Feels. What is Mia Voss calls them? Feels.
They used to be feels.
Seems
I thought they were high tens. That was my first impression.
I think it's cool that we can give the other guys props as well.
I want to distribute mine. There should be a button that I can hit, and it just makes everyone even. But that's kind of like socialism, though. So I don't know if I agree with that either.
It's your room, Ryan. You're allowed to have the most love in it. So,
did you guys hear about the potential for a dislike button on Facebook? Did you hear about that recently?
I've been begging for that forever.
Yeah.
So if they brought that up, I would. They talk about the social graph. The social graph is complete bullshit unless I can say really I don't like your shit.
But isn't that what see less of this?
Dog dies. How do I go? I like that. You know, like I just think it's a one-sided conversation.
But you don't dislike it. How about having a heart?
Or a sad face or a happy face. So a level of emotion.
Yeah.
So I want to
at least connect.
Craig, isn't that the see less of this post though? Because I do that a lot of times.
It is, and that's actually more new since I used to really rail on the dislike button. But they you know, in the early days, and they still do it now, they just go on and on and on about the social graph, and the only thing you could do is like. It's like, what? That's completely skewed view of everything. Yeah. How is that the social graph?
Yeah.
But essentially,
I'm from New England. All we do is complain about everything. We don't like anything.
But like really now just means I give you permission to spam me with information, isn't it? Right? Essentially, if you like something, all you're doing is saying you have permission to enter my world. And unfortunately, it's not about, you know, when Facebook started, it was about me connecting with friends. And if I liked what they had to say, I was connecting with that in a shorthand. But now it's not that. And you know, and people do share information that has levels of commitment. And to say, you know, my mum died and I have to like it is
right.
It's just that's strange.
I completely don't understand that etiquette. So, you know, in 2014, I was Google Plus all the way. Craig, you know that. And I completely lost touch with Facebook etiquette. And now I've kind of had my falling out with Google Plus and whatever. It is what it is. And I've kind of used Facebook more, mostly because that's the audience that I serve now, which is primarily the insurance vertical. That's where they are, right? So spending time on Google Plus would be extra, and I just don't have the time. So, but I've lost, like, do you hit the like button when someone says that, like, one of my buddies put out something the other day that his dog died, and like, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to hit like to just say like, hey man, I'm sorry, like I'm here, like, or do I just comment and don't like, or do I just do nothing?
That's the problem.
What am I supposed to do?
I mean, in the social realm, for something like that, a comment is probably the thing that's going to be real, isn't it?
That's what everybody's saying now.
Shorthand and go, I like that is
right. But Facebook is perfect, where the perfect place where you have a ton of connections that you're not close enough to comment. So I have a ton of old high school friends and even extended family that someone dies. It would be odd for me to suddenly say, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss, because we never ever speak. But you know what? I am sorry for the loss. And I'd like to do something. A nudge, maybe a nudge. A poke.
Well, you can't
What was
poke
it, a
them.
poke?
Like,
Yeah.
I never got the poke. That
But
always.
you know what I'm saying?
felt a
It's
bit
like a
uncomfortable.
method.
Yeah, you're not close enough to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, dude, I'm sorry," because
Yeah.
Right. Or
It's
even put it in a positive
weird.
light, a new baby. And it's like,
Right.
you know, even to my own family members, my direct family members, it's hard for me to get excited about that. But when I see like an old high school friend, I do want to let them know that, hey, you know, that's cool. But I'm not the person that's going to comment. And I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just odd.
It's created a really weird dynamic in our culture now. Like Facebook is it really has created this strange thing where I have friends who, it's not that I'm not interested in what's going on in their life, but I almost don't want to engage because I don't want them to start communicating back with me. Like,
Yes.
I just, and it's not that I don't care. Certainly not that I don't care about them. I want them to be happy. I want them to be successful. And I kind of want to voyeur what's going on in their life. But what I
Yes.
don't want is for them to pop in and start like being part of my world. That's not what I want.
You know, and
So
just
you want to give them a nod. It's like when you see the neighbor across the street, there's a nod, and that's about the depth. And maybe that's a blokey kind of thing, isn't it?
I acknowledge that we're both
kind of yes.
And I wish you success, but please do not. It's almost like a Seinfeld thing. Like, I get that you're there and everything's good, but don't talk to me.
But then, have you noticed,
totally.
Twitter has evolved to the love heart? You know, when you like something or you used to star it, now it's a love heart. I feel like Twitter's turned into a Valentine's Day card that by the time you hit all these love hearts and you know, that's a big emotion that we're suddenly turning into some icon that just says, I acknowledge that I saw it. You know, for me, I think that's a shift in our taking these icons that are supposed to represent communication, represent language, and then either devaluing them, like love is a big concept, and yet now we're spilling it out like it's candy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn, always the Johnny Come Lately channel, right? They've just started to introducing emojis and animated GIFs as well, and a lot of people are saying, "What the? This is a business network.
Yeah.
Why would I use this?"
Emojis might make some sense. Animated GIFs, I don't know about that.
I love GIFs. I
love them, but I don't know about on LinkedIn.
I've been rocking GIFs on Twitter since it became a thing. I just freaking love them. And I will tell you that, so GIFs used to be my thing on Google Plus. Like if I wrote an original content piece on Google Plus, it would always have a GIF with it. And that's how I kind of, you know, not trademark's the wrong word, but like that's how I tagged that you're not going to get this anywhere else. You only get it here. And I've started to do that on Twitter. And, you know, I'm not going to get tactical on you, but I found that it's been a nice thing. And I think the audience on Twitter has picked up on it a little bit, that like the tweets with the GIFs are like a little extra special. Like you have to go to Giphy and find them and put them in, you know what I mean? But I think it's kind of a cool feature. For some reason I love GIFs. I don't know.
But do you think, like I noticed you can have your GIF profile pic here in Blab, and I just think if everyone gets this animated profile pic, that it'll start to look like an old MySpace page, that it'll just be dancing Jesuses and so many sort of things jumping around and popping around that I don't know, it becomes visual noise. So that's my feeling is sometimes
so no one else used them. I just want to use them. No one else.
I kind of feel like we're going to end up, you know, veering back towards a MySpace type experience at some point, or some network will, because these days, and it's been a long time since Facebook came on the scene, it feels very rigid, and it's supposed to be about expressing you. You know, it's your profile, you're this, you're that. That's why we're seeing more emojis, more GIFs, all this stuff. I think everyone's afraid to become MySpace again, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some much closer ground to Facebook to MySpace that is in our near future, because you can't express a lot of yourself through the rigid Facebook UI.
And
that's
really,
Google Plus is
Facebook's
so
become
powerful.
preaching to you rather than you being able to preach out of Facebook. It's all about what they're feeding into your stream, not about what you put into your stream.
Yeah.
right. Until we all start going somewhere else.
Well, that's why, and again,
Well, Ello
I have a heartbreak with Google Plus because this is what made Google Plus so amazing is that the images fit whatever dimensions you wanted. You could use GIFs and video and audio, all these different mediums. So however you wanted to express yourself, which for me, it was GIFs and long form original content, right? That's just what I like to do. And I have been lost without that because I'm not going to put 350 words on a blog post. My 350 word ideas were Google Plus. That's where I put them in. It was like my incubator for content. I loved it. It was who I was. And then it was just ripped away from me because like perception kind of became reality. And all of a sudden the people that I was interacting, there are still great people there, but it just wasn't the same anymore. And I had to leave for other reasons. And I don't think any other network has realized that that's what made Google Plus so special is that whatever way you wanted to create, their platform was manipulable to be able to allow you to create that way.
Right. I totally agree.
For me, it was like Twitter with elbow room in that you could actually, you didn't have to think in sentences. It was short sentences. You could actually allow yourself to write and share content or create content.
I looked at it. It was kind of almost every platform together. It could behave however you wanted it to behave.
Yeah.
And, that
so
gives
what made it
a lot of freedom.
What made it fail? What do you think made it fail? Or, I know they're kind of...
actually, Darren Rouse was just talking about this on his blogging tips blab he had earlier. I think they just quit too early. They gave up. I think Vic pushed it too hard within Google. And that caused internal strife, which is super common in a major corporation. I dealt with it a ton of times at Microsoft. And that got pushed back. And then they started going, backpedaling. Why are we doing this? And it was too soon. If they had just kept plugging along, I think they had so much good going in that platform. I'm still astounded. But it was that internal strife that really pushed the final button.
Is it that kind of thing like Facebook, the social network kind of, the movie about Facebook kind of defined it that Facebook grew because it was cool and they kept it cool for a long enough time for it to then own the space. And I thought Google Plus was cool, but I don't know, it suddenly stopped being cool for me. There was something that the people weren't on it. The connection wasn't on it. I could broadcast, I could see stuff, but I didn't feel like I got to know people on the platform. So for me, that was the thing that changed.
I think a huge part of Google Plus's problem is it was a new platform, but it wasn't new like Facebook was new. So Facebook had a whole huge group of people, the college students and stuff that they started with, that most of them weren't interested in hanging out on MySpace. But suddenly they're all connected in this group at the colleges. And now this is this new thing that's worth participating in. But when Google Plus comes around and any other network you're battling the desire to switch. Is there a big enough desire to switch? Because the general public is already on Facebook. So as good as Google Plus was, is there enough to make the general masses switch? And I personally think there should be. They should get it, but there's no good way to communicate that until someone spends a lot of time, and their social media presence isn't worth it when they realize, hey, I actually tested Google Plus, but all of my friends and family is still over on Facebook. Well, you can't, that's a tough nut to crack.
I use Google Plus for one main purpose every day, and that's to check in and to commune with a bunch of LinkedIn coaches. It's called LinkedIn Experts, and it's set up by Vivica von Rosen. This group is over 1,000 strong, and it's the best community to basically keep on top of our subject and to share lots of information. You know, there's always something changing with LinkedIn, and we can always learn from each other. It's a tremendous community. And the fact that, you know, this has been said many times, but the fact that a LinkedIn community is on Google Plus is a problem in itself, right? So,
the platform doesn't actually work.
Mountain View, we have a problem. So, but you know, why is that? You know, what's the analysis here? Well, it's very easy to use. It's much easier than LinkedIn because of the formatting and just the way it's done. It makes it basically Google Plus gets out of the way, right? Yeah, you know. So that's my take on Google Plus. I have no idea about the health of Google Plus. I can just relate, you know, my experience. And what's interesting to me is that maybe there's finite time involved here that we can only spend, or maybe it's just preferences. Maybe we can only spend a certain amount of our time on doing one or a couple of things every day. But someone already mentioned in the comments that Robert Scoble was basically an evangelist for Facebook groups. Why? Because he was able to essentially make it work for him, right? And his argument was people don't tend to do that. They tend to be dismissive of Facebook in general, or Facebook groups specifically, because they don't take the time, or they don't perhaps understand how to make it work for them. And he's basically saying, I meet all these fantastic people, and I see what I want to see, and it just works, and I like it for that reason. So that made me want to now explore and look, you know, take a closer look at Facebook, and specifically Facebook groups. Yeah. That's my take.
I think, like, each platform has got its own barrier to entry or barrier to connection. So, I mean, I think LinkedIn has almost puts up walls before you can actually get to or meet people. Like Twitter, I think you're cool, I'll follow you. If you think I'm cool, you'll follow me. And that's basically the start of a transaction. LinkedIn, I think you're cool, how do you know me? And you know, it sets up 5 options, of which for me,
ridiculous.
I might just want, and I know they've started a kind of a like thing so that I can actually follow people without having that connection.
Yeah. But I don't know, Ryan, but I want to connect with you. Oh, I have to have a reason. One of these 5 reasons doesn't work. None of these 5 reasons work for me. Screw it. I'll just choose friend, and I'll deal with that. And you know what? I'm choosing one of these options, and the recipient doesn't even see them anymore. What the? It's insane.
I feel like LinkedIn, like, I'm with Craig. I feel like Google Plus, the initial vision for Google Plus was everything that a social network should ever have been, but something screwy happened internally, and the vision was not shared by everyone, and perception never became reality. And then ultimately it did, which was, it just wasn't a thing for people, and they didn't have the time, whatever. LinkedIn, to me, I feel like has been given 100 chances and just never figures it out, just can't figure it out how to do it. It just, the stream has never been very useful. Groups used to be useful, and then they made a bunch of changes, and now they're not useful. The publisher platform, we're going to become a publishing platform now, so we're going to create this blogging thing, except it doesn't show up in search or really anywhere unless somehow you hit a tweet or you email it to me. So why wouldn't I just blog on my website? You had to be
special to do it.
Yeah, and then unless you're one of the 200 people, and then they're like, well, look, when Richard Branson creates something, he gets 12 million likes on it. And it's like, yes, because he's fucking Richard Branson. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't use Richard Branson as a case study for anything in life. Nothing. He's a 1 in 10 trillion dude. Like, you can't ever use him as a case study. He has successed himself out of every case study that exists. So when LinkedIn is like, look at Richard Branson, it's like, come on, guys. Like, really? That's your case study?
Using Apple is the model for every reference to marketing. It just, okay, one company has got it right, but
it just, I can't figure it out. It's like there has to be
smart. Know, when Ello took off, like there was that moment where Ello was the flavor of the month, and you needed your invite onto Ello, and it was going to be really cool and all of that. But what it was that people loved the idea of Ello. They didn't particularly like the platform, but they loved the idea that the philosophy behind it was the thing that was attractive. So I don't know. given the tools that we have to create these social networks, to create these platforms now are getting easier and easier. Hopefully, the bigger platforms, you think maybe it's like the Titanic. They're just big ships now, and they move too slowly, and they can't be a startup and innovate and say we're going to create new code, rip it all to pieces, and this is going to be cool and new. So, I mean, again, Blab's that kind of disruptive thing, isn't it? That suddenly, for me, I was big on Twitter chats. I spent a lot of time getting to know people here. Well, suddenly I can jump into a Blab and hear and talk and get to know the people that I got to meet as posts in Twitter. So there's this different kind of dynamic in the relationship, that there's a voice and a face, and it's awesome. So that's the disruption that I think Twitter will have.
Yeah.
In those communities.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Hey, fellas, everyone listening, I'm perfectly cool leaving it open. So I'll just jump off. You guys can keep rocking and rolling, but it's 10:45 here, and this guy is running out of gas. Okay. So everyone that's watched, this has been amazing. Great. Definitely didn't mean for it to be a 2-hour blab.
Always happens.
Great conversation, but it's been fantastic. So I'll click out. I'm going to stop the recording too. And
thanks for having me, Ryan. And nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, you guys.
Great to meet you.
Great to meet you, Ryan.
I'm going to.
Thank you.